Hello, welcome back, or welcome if you're new. It's so good to see you today. My name is Vix and this is my channel, Goddess of Gore, where I like to talk about horror, thriller, fantasy and sci-fi books. It's week 3 of the month, you guys, and guess what? I didn't have a slump this week. Like I said, the first week of July must have been my slumpy week because last week I read another 6 books. What's going on? Anyone would think I'm trying to bury my head in the books to avoid the real world or something. As if. So I started the week off with Scarlet by Genevieve Cogman. This was described as a Scarlet Pimpernel historical fiction with vampires, and while yes, it was, I was expecting something a little more spooky. This was very cozy and whimsical feeling, and the vampires, well, I'm not really sure what they were in this for, to be honest. It reminded me a lot of Half a Soul and 10,000 Stitches by Oliver Atwater. You know, those kind of vibes. But regardless, I did enjoy the story. Eleanor is a seamstress and embroiderer for an aristocrat mistress who is a vampire. In fact, all of the upper classes are vampires in this book and regularly bleed the servants as and when they please. Eleanor gets lent out to guests of her mistress when they meet her at a party she is holding and instantly think she has an uncanny resemblance to none other than Marie Antoinette. A bit of hair dye, bit of makeup, and she could actually pass as her. A team of posh bandits led by the Scarlet Pimpernel have a plan to rescue Marie and her child that is currently being held captive in some dungeons in France. At first, Eleanor is upset at being lent out like she's a book or an object, but she soon realises she could actually change history with these people. There is excitement and mild danger throughout the book, and there was a rather spooky scene with a very hungry vampire playing cat and mouse with our Eleanor. But apart from that, there were no other reasons to put anyone off reading this if vampires aren't your kind of thing. I would go as far to say as this is a cosy romp through 18th century France with a speck of vampire and a sprinkle of romance and a smattering of a history lesson. If you love the Regency Fairy series, you should try this. So I offset the cosy for something a bit more thrilling with The Strange Case of the Alperton Angels by Janice Hallett. Now this was very strange and very mysterious, and at first I didn't think I was going to like it at all with its mixed media installments. It is told completely through messages and emails and notes, but within an hour of settling in, I didn't even notice the difference, and I was completely absorbed in this weird story presented as a historic, unsolved crime. The story revolves around true crime writer Amanda Bailey, who is given the opportunity to write about an old, weird, uncanny case of a cult led by the enigmatic Gabriel. The cult's dark past involves apparent ritualistic suicides and presumed ritualistic killing, and the belief that their newborn child member is the actual Antichrist and must be destroyed. As Amanda starts to investigate old sources, she gets wind that fellow writer Oliver Mingus is also being offered a book deal by a rival publisher, a writer that she has had past history with, and it's very obvious the animosity between the two of them. The investigation into the case is so twisty. You are led to believe that the followers are real angels on Earth, and the mystery of each version of events changes every time she interviews somebody else. While there are many characters to keep track of, the effort is well worth it as the suspense and the mystery intensifies with each revelation. The case is not the only intrigue here, as we get to find out what actually happened between the two writers when they first met as school leavers, and why Amanda has held a grudge against Oliver all these years. I thought this was so well done, and the teasing with the suggestions of the angelic powers was just superb. Next I read A Weyward. Now this one surprised me. I had only read the synopsis when I picked it for my TBR, but then I made the mistake of reading the reviews before I opened up the pages, and they mentioned that this was nothing new, done to death, etc. My interest suddenly went from high to low, but I actually enjoyed it. So yes, these stories have been done before individually. They have never been weaved together to show a common trait within the women of being wronged by men and yet not changing the magical or witchiness about themselves. This is a tale about the lives of 3 resilient women across the centuries, bound by their connection to the natural world and the secrets of a mysterious cottage. The story quickly evolves into a captivating and deeply layered narrative that became compelling to me. Kate escapes an abusive relationship in London in 2019 and seeks refuge in the inherited Weyward cottage, a run-down property left to her by her great-aunt Violet. As she explores the cottage, she stumbles upon secrets that stretch back to the 17th century, involving her ancestor Alpha Weyward, a young woman accused of witchcraft and facing trial. In the midst of World War II, we also meet Violet Ayres, Kate's great aunt, who longs for freedom and knowledge but is confined by the societal norms of her time. The 3 timelines cross to create an enchanting story of women's strength, resilience and their deep connection to nature. Each character's account is equally compelling and these short chapters maintain the elusive one more chapter before so-and-so that keeps me eager to discover what happens next. One strange element of the book is the Weyward cottage itself, which takes on a life of its own, offering shelter, nourishment and medicinal plants to the women who seek solace within its walls. The cottage becomes a somewhat symbolic representation of the women's resilience and connection to the nature around it, offering itself at just the right time to be a refuge. I enjoyed the use of nature magic as well as the different yet similar struggles of the women faced in a world dominated by the men in their time. As I knew I would, I loved the story of Alpha being accused of murder through witchcraft, but I equally loved the story of Violet in the early 1900s, and each gave just enough of their story to leave me wanting more. So yeah, although people who I consider having similar taste as myself didn't like this book very much, I loved it, which can sometimes go to show how everyone has very different tastes. And then I changed the mood completely with The Marriage Act by John Marrs. Oh my god, this book was fantastic. This was my 3rd and by far my most favourite John Marrs book. I have read The Vacation and the one previously, and I always think John Marrs books are described as Black Mirror-esque, alternative or near future and tech horror. I don't think his other 2 books have had that effect on me until now. This book is exactly a Black Mirror episode. This should be in a new series straight away. This is classic Black Mirror rather than what it has now become. This is technology and control gone too far. The setting is a near future England. The government has sanctioned the Marriage Act, a perk incentive way to enforce and control its citizens through a marriage scheme. Through a variety of points of view, we get to see how far the tech will go to enforce the draconian government control and the smothering watchful eye. And this wasn't all Big Brother. There were some regular day-to-day citizens who weren't signed up to the Marriage Act. Particularly touching was Arthur after the death of his wife. However, this has also created my most hated bad guy I've read in a long time, Geoffrey. He was so despicable, so despised and vile. Oh, I hated him so much. What a slimy, sly, venomous little creation. Well done, Mr. Mars. There was also bad influences going too far for the likes, a la the usual Black Mirror favourite trope. This was exactly what I wanted from John Mars. This was the book I wanted whenever I googled Black Mirror style thrillers. The author's notes at the end of the book as to the research made to create this was grim reading too. What will the future hold for the listening devices within our home? This story was a dreadful one, but my God, it kept me glued to the edge of my seat. I couldn't put this down while simultaneously covering my mouth and grinning devilishly. And then I read Maeve Fly by CJ Leede, and I still don't know how to feel about this book. Part of me wants to say it was trying to shock me really hard, and the other half of me thinks it is so well done that everyone should read it. So, the unimpressed half of me first. This is told from the point of view of a sassy little spoilt girl who is anti-everything. Literal poor little goth girl going home every night to the mansion of her grandmother, an actress who made a fortune in early Hollywood, being shocking. Wow, now the girl is wanking over gay porn. Oh no, she's honey trapping influences into exposing themselves as racists or homophobes or transphobes. Insert another not accepted cyst here. The horror. No, stop. She's doing drugs in the locker room at work before she has to go out into a child-friendly theme park. Gasp! She's into torture sex. Oh, stop. I can't take it anymore. She winks at men who want to try it on in an encouraging, knowing way. But then the other half of me thinks this is a fantastic book about an on-purpose obnoxious serial killer who was brought into the world and guided into being something amazing and shocking and wonderful. Maeve is one hell of a good character that you just don't know what she's going to do next or how to take her. She's just a wild card, and yes, this could well be the American Psycho for a new generation. Whether that's true or not, you cannot deny that Maeve really does give Bateman a run for his money. And the ending to this is just perfection. CJ Leede can definitely write a truly annoying, obnoxious main character on purpose. Who knows whether it was on purpose or not, but love this or hate this, you cannot deny that Maeve Fly is one annoying, stuck-up little feck that performs some truly grotesque acts that will either shock you or shock you. I will make up my mind about this eventually. And then to finish off the week, I read Witches Abroad by Terry Pratchett, the missed off around the disc choice from June. This is also a reread. Witches Abroad never gets tiresome for me. The upgrade with every witch book in the series only adds to the lovable and timelessness on Pratchett's witches. This one opens up pretty much the same way as most of the Discworld books do, with death waiting in the wings to take away a character. This time he has come for Desiderata, the fairy godmother. She knew when she was going to die, even had someone dig her grave the day before and planned for someone to fill it back up again on his way home. But unfortunately she forgot to train up a new fairy godmother to take her place. So at the last minute she leaves her wand to Magrat Garlic, the youngest of our threesome of regular witches, with the explicit instructions to not invite the other two on an adventure to stop a wedding. Desiderata knew full well that they would do the exact opposite, and so off go Granny Weatherwax, Nanny Og and Magrat Garlic to stop Emberella from marrying a frog prince. This book is chock full of fairy tale cliches that you cannot move for a magic mirror, a pumpkin coach or a spinning wheel, all with running political jokes, funny little British quirks and humour that I couldn't even possibly explain. All I know is that this is a bloody brilliant book and you should read it too. So that's it. That's all the books I read last week. How was your week? I really hope it all went well. Here in the UK, the schools are almost broken up, so for most people they will be planning their summer holidays. Are you going anywhere? Are you making any plans? Anything exciting coming up soon? I unfortunately don't have any holiday plans, but I would love to hear if you do. On Thursday, exciting, I think I will be on Amy McCaw's channel being a guest for her reading sprints, so that will be at 7:30 UK time if you wanted to join in and get some reading or some work done over on there. I am very nervous for that. This will be my first live and I'm just hoping I don't get too starstruck or anything. I will link her channel below, although I think most people will know who she is. If you don't, she is the author of the Mina and the Undead series of YA horror books, a booktuber and book club host. I'm literally palpitating just thinking about it. I'm sure it will be fine once we're up and going. Do you guys get nervous about things? I do. Anyway, don't forget to like this if you did and subscribe if you haven't already. I will leave you, as always, with a quote from one of the books I read this week. If you possess both youth and beauty, you can get away with much in this world. You can get away with anything. We all know the types. Make some good book choices this week, my friends, and I hope to see you all again soon. Until next time, bye bye.